So many founders, they think they have this quality problem, right? Thing is, you're amazing at what you do. What it is, you have a consistency problem. Now, stay with me, stay with me. Your team technically doing the work, but no two people are doing it the same way. I see this all the time out in the wild. So one team member will deliver at the level that the founder would be absolutely proud of. Like, out of them, I'm proud of. Another does it their own way, and a third will improvise, right? Now, and the founder, and I have been here myself, and I see so many of you spend their week fixing the gap between what was delivered and what was promised. And you don't have a bad team. It's not the people. It's because nobody ever defined what great or done right looks like. Okay. This is what we like to call the Starbucks problem. So you can walk into any Starbucks in the world and get the same coffee, right? Not because they have exceptional baristas. Many of them do. It's because the barista has had the same training to the same standard. They know what a win Starbucks coffee looks like, because there is a clear, documented definition of what that outcome is supposed to look like, right? Now, most businesses at 500K or more are delivering outcomes that depend entirely on which team member shows up that day and how they show up that day. And that is not branding. That is a lottery that I do not want to play, and I don't want you to play. Now, I work with founders. This is the cool part, right? I work with founders to define exactly what done right looks like across their core processes in their businesses, and build it into a standard that their whole team can execute against every time, regardless of who's working and what mood they're in, because mood does affect things, I promise you. Most founders that we've worked with have super clarity on this within 90 days. Rework drops right down. The client experience becomes predictable, which you cannot, like, that is priceless. That is amazing. And the founder stops being the quality control department. And I know you're done with that. That is not how to run a business. That's not what you signed up for. So let's work through this together. Let's unpack what we can do about this. It's time for a screen share. All right. So if this is something that you are wanting to overcome, let me show you the way. What do we do about this? So this is what we always say, what good looks like. I think it should be what great looks like. This is what great looks like, and this is the framework. All right, what great looks like. Now, while we're drawing this out, let me tell you about one of our clients. Now, she's a consultant, absolute rock star, so passionate about what she does. Now, she came to me. She had a team, absolutely fantastic, rock star team, like really passionate about what she does as well and what they do. But they were working hard and they were delivering inconsistently. And one of the unfortunate side effects was they had a client that was just got a bit fed up, and unfortunately, instead of actually having a conversation about it, left them a 1-star review. Ugh, no one loves that scenario, right? It just, there's no winners there. So she went back to having to do final checks on everything, and it was not that she wanted to micromanage, quite the opposite, but she's like, I cannot risk, my business can't risk having this situation again. So she's doing a final check on almost everything, doesn't want to be a micromanager. It's silently chipping away at her sanity, because she doesn't want that for her team. But she hadn't created a shared definition of what great looked like. So every check was taking time that she didn't have and driving her nuts. And she didn't want that for a team either. So here's what was happening underneath that. So what she meant was fundamentally different to what the team heard. Okay. Now, a lot of you out there will be going, okay, I'm listening. This makes sense, right? So every process in your business has a gap between these two things. So what you meant and what they heard, or what their understanding was of what needed to happen. So your mental picture versus what actually gets produced, right? And the wider this gap, the wider that is, the more time you will spend in quality control instead of actual growth. Not a good time. Now, the fix for this, not more supervision. It's not micromanaging the team. It's a standard. So you need a standard, right? You need a standard that's created. Standard growth. Not a good time. Now, the fix for this, not more supervision. It's not micromanaging the team. It's a standard. So you need a standard, right? You need a standard that's created. Standard that's created that can be followed so that every output for every client is the same. Now, it has to be clear, has to be written, it has to be team facing. It has to be a definition of what great looks like when we do things correctly. And it's not a values poster, it's not a mission statement, it's a practical checklist that anyone in the team, even someone that has joined your team today, can use as a reference before they hand work over. Okay? So, where do we go from here? When I sat down with my client, what we did was we started at the worst inconsistencies, right? Where they were costing the most. So we picked, I think it was 4 at the time. So what are our 4 biggest opportunities? What's costing us the most money in rework time, in client experience, or what's stuck in their head? So with this particular client, what it was, so the first thing was there was a gap between the client's expectations and, so not my client, so my client's expectations and the founder's expectations. So client expectations. All right. Versus founders. So there was the first gap. So you can see how this can compound over time, right? Next, there was a gap between the founder and the team members' expectations. So that's 2 gaps. So we've got, you know, a gap here. This is scary. There's a gap here and there's a gap there. So, you know, from here, like, so sorry, like my client's client has an expectation that's 2 times removed from the output that's coming from the team member at this point, right? That's a massive problem. And then the next one was the expectations were out of alignment. But then when you, so for the overall product, but then in the minutia of how things should operate, so in the weeds or the minor details. So the overall product, they weren't in alignment, but then the minor details were missed as well and they weren't communicated. So you've got massive gaps here and here. And then within here, minor details that were either wrong or missing or misunderstood. So we identified those gaps, right? From there, it's really important to build what good looks like. So from here, I said, okay, so how could we have overcome that? Let's work backwards. For each process, and now within this, just as a caveat, just to be very clear, within this final product, there's multiple processes, right? But for each process, we define 3 things. 1, non-negotiables. So what has to happen without fail every time we deliver that thing? So what are the non-negotiables that have to happen every single time? The second thing is the output or the final product that the client or the customer experiences, right? So the final output. And finally, check to confirm that it's done right. So final checks. So what does this look like in practice? So non-negotiables. So your non-negotiables would be a list, right? So you'd have a list of non-negotiables. Brand kits need to be applied. It could be the right language. It could be the right imagery. Make sure we use this particular type of image, for example. It depends what you're outputting, right? Second one, final output. We do this internally with my team, and I always say to my clients, you need a gold standard output. So you need an example version of what great looks like, final output. So let's say, we do a lot of learning design, because part of what we do in the back end with a lot of our clients is onboarding programs. So we would have a first module of that particular onboarding program that we've built out, and we'd say, this is our gold standard. Everything has to meet that standard that we build out thereafter. And beyond that, we have a gold standard for onboarding programs, right? That includes our non-negotiables here, how it should look, how it should feel, what the learner should experience. And final checks is basically going back and checking, have we fulfilled the non-negotiables? Has everything about the final output been addressed? Easiest way to do this, where have things failed in the past for your final checks? Where have things gone wrong? Where did they not work previously? All righty. So this makes sure that we get a gold standard output, the right experience for our client. And this ties back to, coming back to what we were saying originally, team, what our founder meant versus what the team heard. These close that gap. Okay. And what I'd encourage you to do is sit down and build this together with your team. That's what we do. We'll get our key stakeholders in and we'll do it with the rest of the team. Now, it's really important that you don't skip step number 3. So step number 3 is that these standards go into onboarding every new team member. Every new team member should be learning this from day 1. It goes into your daily workflows so that existing team members have something to check against. The founder then stops being the reference point, and the standard is the reference point. This becomes your North Star. And when you get this right, you really can't fail. Now, by the time we finished with this client, we'd gone from her being anxious about getting another poor review, another poor client experience, to just knowing that everyone's going to deliver a rock star for result, which is just a great place to be in. The team didn't change. No one came in, no one came out. Just the definition of done and great work, and our North Star did. So I encourage you, come and hang out and do this with me. Come and do our gold standard call. So this is our standard setter call. So this is where you spend time with me, and founders who book this week will walk away with a prioritized list of where inconsistency is doing the most damage in their business right now, a framework for defining their delivery standard, and super clarity on what needs to be documented first, whether we work together after that or not. Now, this is a working diagnostic. You will leave with something actionable and tangible that you can take with you that day. So jump in, click the link below, come and join me